I mean, I know the talking point is that, well, it's not communism, it's socialism. Okay, I've read the quotes from the DSA platform, from their own mouths. Don't tell me I'm not seeing what I am seeing.
The Democrats have become a party of freaks, weirdos, losers, and crazies.
Could you see yourself voting for J.D. Vance?
Yes. If this is the Democratic side, yes. That's what I was saying to him.
Yeah.
What does my votes in play mean?
Could you see yourself voting for J.D. Vance?
Yes. If this is the Democratic side, yes. That's what I was saying to him.
Yeah.
What does my votes in play mean?
Bill Maher has completely dismantled the left and officially gave his word that he will be voting for the Republicans in the next election. He made it crystal clear that he no longer has any interest in voting for the left, openly stating that he would rather see Donald Trump leading this country than those crazy socialists. Trust me, this is hands down the craziest video I have ever made. Bill Maher even screamed at the left to leave Trump alone and declared that he will be voting for him. Smash that like and subscribe button and let's get right to it.
That's cowardly.
Yeah.
They're cowardly. Their party is being taken over now by, every day I hear about a new, very radical. I feel very good about, like 10 whenever years ago, like I did lose fans because, I wasn't going to go along with some of this crazy stuff on the left too. I didn't change really on what I thought about the right, but I can't sit and just not notice stuff, which people seem to want to do because it's all about my team or your team. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff, when we're cheering for the Intifada, I gotta cut, I'm out.
This is exactly what separates the left from the right. The left has completely lost touch with reality, completely forgetting what actually makes sense and what is truly best for America. They don't even recognize common ground anymore or know where the political center is. Take a look at this clip where Elon Musk breaks it down and lectures them on how far off the deep end they've gone.
You support not just the populist right, but the far right. In fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What you call the far right, falsely.
You think as the normal person. Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal. In fact, one of the tricks that I think is funny. One thing that's quite funny is to take a speech from Obama and Hillary, and then go to someone and say, who's sort of on the sort of what I call the lunatic left, and say, what do you think of the speech by Trump? I'm like, oh wow, he's the worst person ever. Actually, that was a speech by Obama, or actually, that was a speech by Hillary.
I agree. No, I agree that the center of gravity in this country has shifted. Certainly, the Democratic Party has shifted to the left. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like Rupert Lowe. I'm talking
right,
about
please.
people.
It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders. That we should have safe cities. That we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right fringe?
No,
and I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in, but let me.
It's crazy how she dares to call Elon Musk far right, but can't see that the left is literally heading straight into communism to completely destroy our country and everything we have left. The left is so obsessively focused on Trump did this, Trump did that, while their own party is crumbling to an all-time low.
Jew hatred isn't just acceptable now, it's cool. Celebrities love it and make it trendy. It's the new Che Guevara t-shirt. The Islamophobia is just as bad argument is simply a false equivalency. Can you name a Jewish professor who talks about Muslims the way they get talked about? No. Anti-Jewish crimes, hate crimes, now outpace anti-Muslim hate crimes 9-1. It's not a contest, and I'm certainly not saying do more of the other. I'm just saying these are the numbers, the facts, the reality. There is a frothing anxiousness for the literal extermination of this one group. And Democrats, where are you? If any other minority group was being talked about this way, you'd break out the Kenta cloth and have 10 benefit concerts. But because you see that so many of your brainwashed by TikTok constituents now have an unfavorable view of Israel, you indulge them when you should be correcting them. You don't tell your woke idiots Israel isn't a colonizer or an apartheid state or committing genocide, and that if you brats had to spend a week anywhere in the Middle East other than Israel, you would understand what liberalism is not. All the people likely running for president now on the Democratic side want it known they don't take money from AIPAC, the Israeli lobby, a stance which gives permission to actual anti-Semites to say, see, we're right about Israel. That's a dirty money from a dirty country. Oh, please. You take money from crypto and factory farmers and big tech, from Diddy and Weinstein and Epstein, but AIPAC is too far? Let me just say this to all who ask me, why are you harder on the Democrats than you used to be? Until you fix this whole issue, stop asking me.
Now, wearing Queer for Palestine gear and hating your own country just to side with terrorists has become their brand new way to show hate for the right. Meanwhile, simply showing love for your country or practicing basic patriotism is labeled as being racist.
If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath, insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say shit. Math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say shit.
It's not just that. Another major issue Bill Maher raised is the sheer hate for Israel. At this point, the left has completely lost touch with the reality of what's actually happening on every single side of the topic.
If there's one issue, I mean, this whole big issue of Israel, the Middle East, Islamophobia, this whole, because they're all connected. If there's one issue which makes me say to the far left, stop asking me why I make fun of the left more than I used to. This is it. This is why. Because you're morally goofy. You're ignorant. You don't know history. You don't know the present either. They are so morally goofy. And liars, you know, they put that whole thing out for the longest time about how Israel was starving the Palestinian people. You know, that was part of the thing in Gaza, part of their... yes, people were starving because Hamas stole all the food.
Exactly,
Because
yes.
Hamas wants the people to die. That is, first of all, they love being martyrs. Let's just not gloss over that. That's part of the whole religion-dominated culture. Martyrdom is good. They have words for it. That's why they strapped bombs to children. Okay? So again, you're morally goofy if this is the team want to be on. And Israel didn't starve them. First of all, no other nation on earth at war would ever be even asked to feed their enemy.
The main reason it's so hard to see the truth is that every piece of propaganda produced by the legacy media is completely false or just a one-sided artifact manufactured by the left. By doing this, they constantly try to paint themselves as the good guys.
And then he developed the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they were really concerned with global health.
Oh my God. Dude, do you know what they did fucking in the Cabora Bassa Delta with their mosquito nets? Why would you? But do you know what I'm talking about at all?
No, what'd they do?
Dude, I'm going to go on a fucking tirade here.
Please do.
Okay, so the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation decided that there was too much malaria in Africa, right? Which you and I could probably agree with. Malaria is bad. So what did they do? They gave all of these people living in tribal villages... I've totally pirated your thing. I'm sorry, but I'm going to go on a fucking rant here. They gave all these people living in the Cabora Bassa Delta, which is the breadbasket of the Zambezi Valley, meaning like where more fish are born. It's a nursery for fish, right? Not just there, but this is a good micro example. They gave millions of mosquito nets out to all these people to avoid malaria. Guess what the people who are starving to death did with their mosquito nets?
They fished with them.
They fished with them. Mosquito net has a hole that is so small that a mosquito can't get through. So guess what? These mosquito nets now indiscriminately catch tiny baby fish in areas like Cabora Bassa, where the fish go to breed and reproduce and populate. So now all of a sudden you have thousands and thousands of people that have been handed nets, that have been living one way for hundreds of thousands of years. They don't give a shit about malaria. They have their own way of dealing with malaria. They sit in smoky huts at night. They sleep with a campfire, everything else. Yes, they still get malaria, some of them, but they deal with it their own way. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation come in, hand out millions of mosquito nets, absolutely collapse the entire population of fish that feed millions of people, because these people just take the nets and fish all the baby fish out so that those fish don't grow up to make substantial protein sources. So now these wonderful philanthropists that have given out millions of nets have destroyed an ecosystem, crashed a fish population, and created widespread hunger for people that otherwise had plenty of resources. All because they were trying to help with their mosquito nets.
Oh, God.
It's just like, it's a fucking disaster, dude. They've taken such a rich and important part of Africa, one of the most abundant freshwater fisheries in the world, and destroyed it because they're helping by handing out mosquito nets.
Good God.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I told you I'd go on a rant, but it's like, it's so bad what's happened over there. And they're still giving out mosquito nets, by the way. And you literally watch these guys line up, take a mosquito net, and it never goes in their house. It goes straight to catching fish that are this big for them to eat.
Oh, God.
Right now, they are pushing their party past the brink into complete, unhinged extremism. They're taking the platform to the absolute far left edge, turning the entire party structure into a total political disaster, and essentially making hardline communism the official agenda of their movement.
The word communist sounds jarring, but that is who these people are. Mondami is not a socialist. He is a Marxist. He's a full-on communist. The DSA candidates that he supported that won in New York are full-on communists. The DSA candidates who won in Colorado are full-on communists. And look, as you know, my family has seen this firsthand. My father was imprisoned and tortured in Cuba as a teenager. My tia Sonia was imprisoned and tortured by Fidel Castro. This can happen, and this is part and parcel of the strategy. It is identify the people you hate and then harass them, threaten them, and violence is part of the plan. That's not a bug. It is a feature. It is the objective. The radical left is perfectly fine with using violence to attack their enemies. They put out a list. That's intended to be a list for their supporters, at a minimum, to go harass these people. But potentially even worse. You remember the United Healthcare executive who was murdered on broad daylight for being a CEO.
Luigi Mangione.
And the left celebrate. You've got idiots with pictures of this murderer on their shirt, idiots getting him tattooed, cheering on murderers.
What's truly terrifying is that if they keep heading down this destructive path, they are going to unleash some of the worst, most radical policies this country has ever witnessed. Right now, almost nobody in mainstream media has the courage to stand up and call it out, except for Bill Maher. This next clip gives you a raw, eye-opening look at the total collapse that awaits if we let things continue like this.
Democrats must recognize that Zoran Mamdani is the future of the party. Unfortunately, it's the Republican Party. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah. In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland. But then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism. And now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes. Meanwhile, Venezuela traded capitalism for Hugo Chavez's Socialism for the 21st Century, which turned out to be like socialism in the last century, or any century, a fucking mess. It turned one of Latin America's richest countries into one of its poorest. Low wages, high inflation, shortages, outages, 8 million people fleeing. If you think New York can somehow reinvent this wheel, you're in for a rude awakening.
What's insane is that these radicals aren't even hiding it anymore. They actively want to make communism popular, mainstream, and celebrated across America. You don't have to take my word for it. You can hear it spoken out loud directly from the mouths of their own party figures.
And people that are proud to be labeled as a socialist. That used to be was a smear when I was running my first cycle, and now that's becoming more normalized. And now I think that's a very dangerous, slippery slope for us to be. And now I've spoke to people that had to live under socialism and or communism, and they are morons if they think that socialism is the answer. You know, I've lived under that, and thank God we are now.
We already have a great deal of socialism, and I've made the point a million times on the show, as we should. All Western democracies are quasi-socialist. There are certain things that the government should do. You don't want the private enterprise to be controlling the Marine Corps. And we need Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid. Obviously, these things, we have socialism. They're just proposing something way more than that. And by the way, you said socialism, dirty word? Yeah, yes and no. What really was a dirty word, which isn't anymore, is communism.
Yeah, well,
I mean, this woman in New York who is Mayor Mondami's right-hand woman, she tweets out, elect more communists. This guy, Graham Plattner?
Yeah, it's not a slur if I refer to him as a communist. That's his own term that he used for himself.
Yes.
Antifa and these other kinds of extreme things. Now, that's his own words. That's not my view, and I'm not using that as a slur.
But the idea that communist is not a dirty word, I think we need to pause here and say, okay, this is a watermark. This is a watershed mark, a moment in American history where we should pay attention. And my guess is, because AI is going to be taking everybody's jobs, communism is only going to get more popular.
Well, I sure hope not.
But as dangerous as their communist ideology is, what comes right behind it is infinitely worse. They are aggressively pushing an agenda to completely erase and abolish law enforcement across the country, dismantling local police forces, leaving our streets completely lawless, and opening up our entire nation to dangerous criminals and foreign terrorists.
There's one candidate, she will be a congressperson from New York's 13th district, who the New York Times asked her if someone murders someone randomly, should they go to jail? Couldn't get her to say yes for that. She says, no more police ever, at all, ever. She says, our veterans are war criminals. She said, fuck Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden is a rapist. So there is a woke mind virus, and I think we found patient zero.
On top of all that, look at the disaster in every single state and city they govern. School systems are collapsing, educational standards are plummeting to all-time lows, and local taxes keep skyrocketing higher and higher, all while taxpayers get zero return on their hard-earned money.
Look, it's a trade-off, I think, in exchange for getting great weather, great schools, opportunities.
Great schools.
What's that?
The schools suck.
Higher ed,
How do we know they're so great?
Well, the UC system is,
I don't know who's coming out of it and what they're learning. Right. I mean, from what I see from the elite schools on the East Coast, they're shit.
Right.
Well, the UC has produced a lot of Nobel laureates just this past year. They take a lot of kids who don't are first in their families to go to college. I mean, the UC system genuinely is working. Cal State is working. K through 12, there are issues. I mean, honestly, there are issues.
I see kids demonstrating for Hamas, but I'm sure there's this other stuff is going on too.
That is the raw, unfiltered truth of what we are dealing with right now. Thank you so much for tuning in and staying informed. I want to hear your thoughts on this whole situation. Drop a comment down below, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.